At my daughter's graduation party, my MIL gave her a card that read, "Congratulations on escaping your mother's influence." I snatched it out of her hands, only to find a $10,000 check inside with the memo, "College fund if she moves in with us." My husband said, "She's just proud of her." So I took the mic during speeches and read the card out loud, then turned to my daughter and said, "You can cash it. If you're okay becoming just like her." I've put up with a lot from my husband's mother, Beverly, over the years. She's always acted like I was a mistake he made. Not good enough. Too opinionated. Too direct. I used to bite my tongue around her, for the sake of peace. For the sake of my daughter, Jenna. But what happened at Jenna's graduation party? That was the last straw. We live in Spokane, Washington. Not a big town, not a small one either. People know each other. You smile at the grocery store. You wave when someone lets you merge in traffic. But underneath, people remember everything. Jenna graduated with honors. She worked hard for it. She's not the loudest kid in the room, but she's smart, thoughtful, and careful with who she lets in. That's something I've always admired about her. Something I've tried to teach her, how to protect her peace. I didn't have that growing up. So when we planned her graduation party, I wanted it to be special. I made the food myself, smoked ribs, corn on the cob, baked beans. Her favorite cake. I even borrowed extra chairs from a neighbor. People started arriving around 2 p.m., neighbors, classmates, some of her teachers, family. I wasn't excited about seeing Beverly, but I figured she'd behave in front of everyone. She walked in with her usual dramatic flair. Big sunglasses, fake pearls, that perfume that smells like wilted roses. Gave air kisses to everyone. She was wearing heels like she was going to a charity gala. Immediately started asking if there was white wine. There wasn't. She gave Jenna a card. I noticed the way she handed it over like it was more than just a card. She said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "This one's a little extra special, darling." Jenna opened it. I was across the table, pouring lemonade, but I saw her expression change. She blinked like she didn't quite believe what she read. I walked over and asked, "Everything okay?" She handed me the card without saying a word. Her hands were shaking. It said, "Congratulations on escaping your mother's influence." That was the first line. Real pretty handwriting, like it belonged in a wedding guest book. Inside was a $10,000 check, already filled out. Memo line said, "College fund if she moves in with us." I felt my jaw clench. I looked at Beverly. She was standing there, smiling like it was some kind of sweet gesture. Like this wasn't a direct attack on me. I held up the card to my husband, Mark. He read it and sighed. Then he actually said, "She's just proud of her." Proud? This woman had just implied I was some kind of burden Jenna needed to escape, and my husband's first reaction was to defend her? I didn't say anything right away. I just nodded. And I waited. We had speeches planned after dinner. Mark was supposed to say a few words. Jenna would thank her teachers. I had a few kind things I wanted to share too. Nothing fancy. Just pride. Gratitude. But I changed my plan. When it was my turn, I walked up with the mic. My hands were shaking, but not from nerves. I was angry. The kind of anger that's been building for years. The kind you push down and smile through, for the sake of your child. But not this time. I said, "I want to read something Jenna got today." Just a card. From someone who says she loves her. People looked up from their plates. I held it out. It says, "Congratulations on escaping your mother's influence." And it comes with a $10,000 check. But there's a catch. I turned the card so people could see. It says the money's for college, but only if Jenna moves in with her grandmother. There were gasps. A few people actually looked at Beverly. She was frozen, standing near the drink table, her smile gone. I looked at Jenna. I said, "Sweetheart, you can cash it. If you're okay becoming just like her." Dead silence. I saw Beverly's face twist. She started walking toward me, fast, and said, "You are humiliating me." I didn't move. I said no. You did that yourself. Mark stood up too. Let's not make a scene. I looked right at him. Too late. Jenna stood up quietly and walked inside. Everyone else just stayed quiet. Nobody knew what to say. Eventually, people started leaving. The mood was gone. That card had sucked the joy out of the air. Later that night, I was in the kitchen cleaning up when Jenna came in. She had the check in her hand. She ripped it in two. She said, "I don't want anything that comes with a price like that." I hugged her tight. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just held her. Mark didn't say much that night. And honestly, I didn't care. Beverly hasn't spoken to me since. Good. Because next time she tries to mess with my family, she's going to find out that I don't just stand up for myself, I protect what's mine. It would have been easier if that night was the end of it. But it wasn't. People talk in a town like this. Word got around. Not everything, but enough. Something happened at Jenna's party. Heard the mom and grandma went at it. 10 grand involved somehow. I didn't care at first. Let them talk. Let Beverly stew. But then something changed at home. Quiet things. Little shifts. Mark started coming home later from work. Said it was busy season. I knew better. We'd been through busy seasons before. He used to text when he was running late. He stopped doing that. He also started acting off. Distant. Not angry. Just checked out. Like he was going through the motions. Like he was watching me more than talking to me. 3 weeks after the party, I found a receipt in his glove box for dinner at a fancy restaurant in Coeur d'Alene. For two. On a Tuesday night. I waited until he got home that Friday. We were alone. Jenna was at a sleepover. I didn't yell. I just said, "Who were you with Tuesday night?" He blinked. What? You had dinner at Le Bourget. 2 entrees. 1 bottle of wine. You hate French food. He stood there, silent. Are you seeing someone? He shook his head. No. I had dinner with Mom. That almost made me laugh. You're lying. She wanted to talk. About what happened. She felt humiliated. She should feel humiliated. She's still my mother. And I'm still your wife. But you're sneaking around behind my back, having dinner with her like we're in some kind of custody war. He ran a hand through his hair. I didn't tell you because I knew you'd react like this. Like what? Like someone who's tired of being gaslit. He didn't answer. He just walked out of the kitchen. That night, I checked Jenna's room before I went to bed. She was asleep, headphones on. I stood there for a minute, watching her breathe, wondering if I'd failed her. Not because of the party. Because I let Beverly stay in our lives so long. A few days later, I got a letter in the mail. From a law office. I opened it at the dining table and almost dropped it. It was a notice of intent to file for temporary guardianship. Beverly's name was on it. She was trying to get legal rights to host Jenna in her home if Jenna chose to live with her for college. It wasn't technically a custody battle. Jenna was 18 now. But it was a legal move, a way for Beverly to claim control over Jenna's housing and finances if Jenna stayed with her. The paperwork said Jenna's primary parent had emotionally manipulated her and that supportive housing would be better for her transition into college. I was shaking. I hadn't felt that kind of cold fury in years. I called my sister, who's a paralegal in Seattle. She got me a lawyer within 2 hours. When I confronted Mark about the letter, he didn't even look surprised. She's trying to help, he said. She's trying to steal our daughter. She's not a child anymore. She's not a pawn, either. Mark just stared at me. That night, I packed a bag. Not for me, for Jenna. We left. Went to stay with my sister for a week. I needed time to breathe. To think. To figure out what the hell was happening. Jenna didn't complain. She didn't even ask questions. She just followed me to the car, silent. She knew. She always knew who Beverly really was. And maybe, deep down, she was starting to see who her father really was too. The week at my sister's place in Seattle gave me space to think, but it also opened a door I'd tried hard to keep closed. I started asking myself questions I'd avoided for years. Had Mark always been like this? Or had I just ignored it for so long that it became normal? Jenna was quiet most of the time, but I caught her texting someone late one night. She saw me watching and didn't hide it. "Dad," she said. "He keeps asking me if I'm sure you're not manipulating me." I sat on the edge of the bed. "What do you think?" "I think he's not the same anymore," she said. "I think Grandma got in his head. And I think he let her." We stayed a few more days. The lawyer said we needed to document everything, texts, emails, even that ridiculous card. It was starting to look like Beverly wasn't just playing games. She was laying groundwork. A legal paper trail. The guardianship move might have been a bluff, but she was serious about trying to pull Jenna into her orbit. What really threw me was when I got a call from Jenna's future college, Washington State University. The housing office said they'd received a request to change Jenna's housing plans. Someone had tried to list an off-campus address in Coeur d'Alene as her permanent residence. I asked who submitted the change. It was Beverly. She'd mailed in the form, with Mark's signature forged on it. I brought it straight to the lawyer. She looked at me and said, "This is fraud. If you want to press charges, you probably can." I wasn't ready for that step. Not yet. But I wasn't backing down either. When we got back to Spokane, things were colder than before. Mark was there, acting like nothing had happened. Like we'd just gone on a little vacation. He kissed Jenna on the cheek like it was all normal. She didn't respond. I told him we needed to talk. Alone. He sat on the couch, arms crossed, waiting for me to explode. But I was past the point of yelling. "I know she forged your signature." He didn't flinch. "I know she's been trying to move Jenna in with her behind our backs." Still nothing. "I'm giving you a choice," I said. "You can stand with your daughter and me. Or you can keep letting your mother play you like a puppet." He finally looked up. "I never told her to do that. But you didn't stop her either." He rubbed his face. "She said she'd help us pay for college. That she just wanted to be involved. She offered a check with strings attached. She forged legal documents. This isn't helping. It's controlling." He stood up. "She's my mom, and Jenna is your daughter. Pick one." That was the moment. I saw it in his face. He didn't say it out loud, but his silence was loud enough. I packed his things that night. Left them by the front door. He didn't stop me. Jenna and I spent the next few weeks rebuilding. Recentering. I made sure everything at the school was locked down, no more third-party changes, no outside communication without Jenna's approval. Then the real twist came. Beverly tried to sue me. She filed a civil suit for alienation of affections. Said I had intentionally poisoned Jenna against her, causing her emotional damage and estrangement from her grandchild. My lawyer laughed when she read it. "It won't hold. But it's a harassment tactic." It didn't go far. The judge threw it out after one hearing. But the damage was done emotionally, mentally. Jenna broke down one night and said, "I just wanted to graduate. I just wanted to be normal." And that's when I realized it wasn't over. Not until I took a real stand. Not just for Jenna. For me, too. Because if Beverly wanted a war, she was going to get one. And this time, I wasn't going to hold anything back. I thought about revenge for a long time. But I didn't want something petty. I wanted something lasting. Something Beverly couldn't undo with money or fake smiles. Something real. So I started small. I gathered every text she'd sent Jenna, every email, every copy of that forged housing form, the altered college paperwork. Everything. I made a file, handed it to my lawyer, and said, "Use it." Then I contacted the university directly. Asked for a meeting with the Dean of Student Affairs and the legal department. Jenna came with me. She told them what happened in her own words. About the pressure. About the bribe. About the forged documents. They took it seriously. More seriously than I expected. Turns out, the school had rules about outside parties trying to interfere with students' housing or financial decisions, especially if fraud is involved. The university banned Beverly from campus. Any future attempt to interfere would be considered harassment. It went on her public record at the school. A letter was sent to her address. She lost her access to Jenna's life in a real, permanent way. But I wasn't done. I filed a police report for attempted fraud. Not to get her arrested. I knew she'd weasel out of that. But I wanted the paper trail. I wanted it recorded, in ink, that she crossed the line. That she wasn't some sweet little grandma caught up in drama. She was a manipulator who got caught. Then I turned my attention to Mark. He tried to move back and like nothing happened. Said he'd handled things with his mother. That she was done pushing. But I couldn't forget the way he sat back and watched while his mother tried to buy our daughter. I couldn't forget the dinners behind my back, the silence when I begged him to stand with me. I told him he could have his mother, or he could have peace, but not both. I gave him the divorce papers. He didn't fight. Just nodded and said, "I guess I made my choice already." And that was true. He had. It hurt. Not gonna lie. I spent nights staring at the ceiling wondering if I pushed too hard. If I should have kept quiet that day at the party. But deep down, I knew the truth. If I had kept quiet, Beverly would have won. She would have sunk her claws deeper into Jenna. She would have tried again and again until she got what she wanted. I just got there first. Jenna started college that fall. She stayed in the dorms, just like she planned. We kept things simple. No big goodbye. Just a hug, a long one, and a whispered, "Don't let anyone make you doubt who you are." A few weeks into the semester, she called me late one night. She sounded tired, but happy. She said, "Thank you for standing up for me, even when it got ugly." And I realized something. This revenge wasn't about Beverly. Not really. It was about making sure Jenna knew that love doesn't come with strings. That protecting your child sometimes means burning bridges. That sometimes, the person you have to stand up to is your own family. I lost my marriage. I lost the illusion that Mark would ever grow a spine. But I kept my daughter. And Beverly? She still lives in that big cold house across the river. Still tells people I'm the reason her family fell apart. Maybe she's right. But I sleep just fine at night, because no one gets to buy my child. Not for $10,000. Not for $100. Not ever.